Welcome to LinkedIn News Live, a show about the world of work and our place in it. I'm Nina Melendez. In honor of Women's History Month, today on the show, we are focusing on how women can be better advocates for themselves when it comes to things like interviewing for a job or negotiating a raise. We spoke with two very talented and brave LinkedIn members who conducted 2 mock interviews, and we are going to analyze what they did really well and where they can improve. And when I say we, I mean myself and Dr. Jasmine Escalera. Dr. Jasmine is a career coach with over a decade of experience in management leadership and helping women achieve their career goals. Dr. Escalera, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much, Nina. And to be here with a fellow Latina,
yes,
it's a joy.
Puerto Rico in the house, guys. So first, let's talk about interviewing. Mm-hmm. What would you say is a common mistake that women tend to make in the interviewing process?
The thing that I think that is most common is not feeling like they're owning their accomplishments or bragging about themselves. When women are going out on interviews, I want them to step into their dopeness. I want them to feel as fierce and empowered as Beyonce. Owning your accomplishments is truly the way to sell yourself during an interview. You want to go in knowing what your value is, your experience, and how you've helped other companies, organizations, or teams meet their goals and their expectations. You have to own that, and you have to feel comfortable talking about it during the interview process.
I love that because sometimes it feels or it sounds like boasting. Mm-hmm. And we're taught not to be boastful and to be a little bit more humble. But in a situation like an interview, that's actually a great place to be a bit braggart about what you've been able to accomplish.
Yes, you want to be more bold. And I think that's the case for your whole career. As women, due to culture or society, there are so many expectations placed on us on being meek or putting others first. And in your career, it truly is the space that is all about you. So owning those different accomplishments, your achievements, your amazingness is how you want to proceed in every regard with your career. And then with the interview process, you've got to put yourself out there.
So sort of in that vein of being a bit meek, men are actually, according to studies, a lot more likely to apply for jobs where they are ever so slightly underqualified. So where their skills don't match exactly the job description, which means that men will reach sort of for the stars a bit more, and women will be a bit more conservative. Yeah. They'll look at their resume and the job description and say, oh, I'm not a right fit. How can women sort of avoid this? What is a trick that we can do to aim for the stars?
Yeah, well, what I like to say to my clients is men be out there stealing your jobs. So how about we start there? How about we start with the fact that men are out there claiming their accomplishments, so we need to build the mindset to do the same. So what I like to tell my clients is when you're starting a job search, start with an I am dope list. Start out with listing all of your accomplishments, achievements, and value. That's going to help with the interview process moving forward, but it's also going to help build that empowered job search mindset. The other thing I like to do is that statistic kind of says that women only apply to jobs when they're 60%, when they have at 60% or more of the qualifications. What I like to tell my clients is that when you're applying for a job, it's not meant for you to fit all of the qualifications. There needs to be room for you to grow, and there needs to be areas of interest. So what I like to tell some of my clients who are stuck on this is take 2 highlighters, kick it old school, print out the job description. With 1 highlighter, color everything that you know you can do. With the other highlighter, color everything that you know you can learn or are interested in learning more of. And I bet you 100% of that piece of paper is going to be color-coded. So go for it. We have to truly step into our ownership of self, what we can do, and go for every single opportunity we know we can do or can grow within.
And also keeping in mind transferable skills.
Absolutely.
So even if there isn't something that is an exact match, if you can transfer that skill, that's a win.
Absolutely, 100%. It's truly meant to grow into a role. Organizations hire people who are interested not just in the position as it is, but in the opportunity the position holds.
Yeah.
So if that opportunity is there for you to learn, for you to fill any career desires, you got to go out there and put yourself in it.
Yep. Let's talk about negotiating very quickly. So negotiating for raises, talking about your salary expectation can be really kind of scary and hard. What is something that women can do to sort of get over that hump?
Yeah. So the number one thing that I want us all to be doing as women, we know that there is an immense pay gap. We also are dealing with issues of pay parity and pay equity. The number one thing we need to do is we need to get uncomfortable. We need to break down this stigma that we shouldn't be talking about money and that we shouldn't be asking colleagues, coworkers, people in our network about money. The number one thing is to do the research. And I'm not just talking about going on PayScale and salary.com. I'm talking about asking your peers who either hold the position you want or who have hiring capacity for your role. So I think the biggest thing is breaking down the stigma that we can't be talking about this. I actually had a client who just this week found out that she was making $20,000 less than one of her coworkers. And it was all because she actually built the confidence to ask the question, hey, what are you making? What was your starting salary when you got here? And now she's in conversations with her company about back pay, because that's what we need to be doing, is we need to be holding organizations accountable to pay us equitably.
I love that. I've actually started to do that with some of my colleagues. We're like, how much are you making? How much? And it's very freeing, in fact.
It is. It is. We have to break that stigma down.
Yeah. So we're going to get to our member videos. I'm so excited about this. But first, for our members who are watching, make sure to put any of your questions or your comments in the stream. Maybe you have a question for Jasmine, or maybe you're a professional interviewer and you have lots of comments and tips for us. So put them in the stream. We want to hear from both men and women alike. So again, a few weeks ago, we asked some of our members if they wanted to participate in a mock job interview for today's show. And we told them that their video would air on the show and that Jasmine and myself would share some feedback. So we picked two very brave souls, Gianna Padilla and Hannah Henry. And first of all, I want to thank them both because they did an amazing job. They were so generous with their time and they were so honest and candid with their answers that we are all going to be able to learn from them. So first, big thanks to both of them for doing it. Let's start with Gianna. She is a registered medical assistant with over 10 years of experience, and she's based in Florida. Let's see how she responded to two questions that often come up in interviews. One, which is, the broad, tell me about yourself. And then also, can you please explain a gap in your resume? Let's take a listen.
I am originally from New Jersey. I live currently in Florida. Been here for about 6 years. I went to school for nursing. I went to Hudson County Community College. I started off doing my pre-nursing, but then I moved to Florida, and right now I'm just a stay-at-home mom. So I do want to go back to college eventually to UCF to continue my studies for nursing, to get my bachelor's. So I've been out of work for about 1.5 years. I did have a baby back in 2021 on December 25th. And I've been out of work since then. And I'm currently looking. My background, I didn't add that. I'm a registered medical assistant. So I've been a medical assistant for about 18 years now. So for this gap period is just basically just being a homemaker. I'm home taking care of my little one, and during the interim of time, I just been doing like self-education. I did sign up for edX, where I'm just acquiring some just certificates in the meantime while I'm looking for work.
Gianna, thank you. What do you think, Jasmine? How did Gianna do? What was something that she did really well?
So first off, Gianna is a brave soul, because I would not have submitted my name for this. So thank you, Gianna.
Neither would I.
So Gianna did really a great job with both questions. She did answer in both questions a little bit about her background and tell me about yourself. And she did talk about what she was doing during that gap period while being an amazing mom as well. So those are two great things in both of those answers.
And what is something that you feel like she could have done a little bit better?
So one thing I do want to bring up is that as women, we almost sort of diminish our own value. I heard her say, I've just been a mom, or I've just been doing this. We use these filler words that actually bring down our value. And if we don't showcase our value at the toppest notch, then no one else is going to see that value as well. So I want to bring that up for women, definitely connect to any filler words that you're using that's diminishing your value. Now, with that question, tell me about yourself. That probably is the question that everyone hates the most.
I hate it because I never know where to begin. Like
Yeah,
what? Like
where
I
do I
can my
begin?
favorite color, where I was born. I don't. Yeah. How do we navigate that?
Yeah, so I think the reason why people don't like it so much is because you really can take this question anywhere. You can
Right.
start from where you are now and go backwards. You can start from the beginning and move forwards. You can talk about different projects that you've worked on, but inevitably, you really want to tell your career story.
Right.
You want this answer, you want the question to guide the person who's listening to, why am I sitting here in front of you today? What skills have I developed? What projects have I worked on? What experience have I had that actually connects to the job you want me to take? Should I take this role, or should I be offered this position? So you want to have a very clear and concise story, and you want to pull out strengths, experiences that really connect to, why am I here applying for this specific position?
So should your answer to the tell me about yourself reflect specifically that role then, and you should tailor it to each interview?
I believe so, yeah, because what you want to do is you want to basically end it with, and because of these experiences, these skills, these strengths, I'm a desirable or the best candidate for this specific role, or the best candidate for this company. When I was working in children's mental health, I was very passion forward. So I would talk about my interest in children's mental health, growing up in the projects and growing up with a dearth of resources in this space. And I would connect that to the mission of the organizations that I was applying for. So you really want to think about, why am I applying for this job? Why am I applying for this company? And how can I create a narrative or a story that really blends my experiences and strengths together and talks about why I'm here right now?
I love that. All right, let's go to Hannah. Hannah Henry is a recent grad. She just moved to Colorado, and she is currently working in news. Now, she would like to transition into the music video industry, and yeah, that's it. Let's see how Hannah responded when she was asked about why she's looking for other opportunities.
I know that news isn't like that relevant towards music videos. Sure, it has like the camera basics, and that's why I'm here. That's why I'm not taking like any part-time job. News is helpful, but it's just a stepping stone. So the more I work with cameras, I think the closer I can get towards like music video set type roles. So whether that's my next position being somewhere in the live entertainment industry, or it's a production assistant on a set, I believe that with connections and just with each job that I take, that's a little bit more relevant towards being on a music video set. I think that's really going to help me out.
That was Hannah Henry. Jasmine, what do you think that Hannah did that really worked, that she did very well?
Hannah did a great job of really talking about why she wants to transition. She talked about the experience that she specifically wants to have and how it connects to her overall journey. And so she did a great job there, because that's actually what you want to do with this question. When you are thinking about why you're making this move, why you're making a pivot or a transition, you want to connect it to your overall journey. Where do you want to go? Where do you see your career? You're almost giving the interviewer a clue into where your path is going to take you, and how this position is a great stepping stone towards that. You want to talk about the experience that you're bringing in, the skills, the strengths that you have, the value that you're bringing into the role, and then let the interviewer know how this position actually is going to bring you new experiences that you can take towards this journey that you want for your career.
So sometimes when it comes to transitioning, right, or if you're leaving a certain job and you're going to next one, there could be some negativity associated with it. Like, for example, you're leaving a job because you don't get along with your boss, or it's a bad culture fit. How transparent should one be when explaining this transition to your boss? And I know, broadly speaking, as women, we sort of tend to overshare a little bit. Should we not in a situation like this? What do you think?
What I think is, connect to the reasons why the position, the culture, or the manager was a misalignment in terms of your values, and be honest, but never bashing. So if there was a misalignment, meaning that you like to work more independently, but you had a micromanager of a boss, then you really want to talk about how you want to work more independently. You want to work more freely. You want mentorship and coaching and guidance, but you also have that independent nature in the way that you design or develop your work. So you want to make sure that you connect to, why was it a value misalignment for you? And then when you're on the interviews, you want to ask questions to ensure that the management style, the cultural fit, fits your values. So value-based questions. So asking your manager, so what kind of manager are you? How do you manage? What are your core management or leadership values? You want to get specific. So I always say be honest and truthful, never bashing, but really connect to why was this really a misalignment for you in terms of values? And then design and develop value-based questions that help you to connect to, is this the right next step for me?
That's so interesting. I could have sworn you were going to say, don't say that you don't get along, that it was a misalignment. I would have assumed that you just don't even bring up any kind of misalignment. But do you think that being honest is the way to go?
Absolutely. We tend to continue to propagate the same cycles of toxicity until we break them. And the way that we break these cycles of toxicity is we understand truly what is it that I need as a woman of color, as a person of color, whomever you are. What do I really need to be successful and thrive in my next career, in my next environment?
Right.
What are the core values that are important to me that have to be present, or else it's a misalignment and it's never going to work.
Right. And you're going from one bad situation to potentially your next bad situation.
Absolutely.
So let's go back to Hannah and so we talked about the things that she did well. What are some areas you think that she could have improved on?
So I think, making sure that you're talking about what did you gain from your past experiences, what skills, what experience can you bring to the table for the new role, and then also talking about what you're looking for in terms of the next step. So she could have done a little bit of a better job of talking about the experiences, the skills, what she learned from her prior positions, and how she's bringing that into this new one.
Great. And I want to say one thing I noticed that Hannah did really well in is that she just had a great setup. Like she
did,
the lighting was really well. It was almost like
in studio.
It looked like it was in studio. And I think that's great when I've interviewed people, just being able to see their eyes and their faces. Yeah, it's very well done. Before we go on, let me say hi to some of the members. We've got a ton of people who are commenting and saying hello. Catherine from Hartford, Sue from England, Anne from Panama City Beach, Yolanda from Texas. Hi, Yolanda. Gwen from California, Samina from Ontario, and we've, Salida from Chicago, Samina from Ontario. I already said we've got a ton of people watching. Thank you so much. Make sure to put your comments and questions in the stream. We want to get those answered. Mega says, top-notch, valuing yourself. Amazing point. And Sweta says, I use the PARC, personal, passion, present, past, achievement, result, conversation, company, and relate to the job. That's interesting. Explain a little bit what that is, Sweta. I'm really curious. Personal, passion, present, past, achievement, result, conversation, company. Okay, that's a mouthful. All right, let's talk about negotiations and money and that whole thing that makes us always feel a little awkward. So we asked both Gianna and Hannah about talking about their salary expectations. So that often comes up in the interview. What is your salary expectation? Let's hear first from Gianna, and then we'll talk about it.
I feel like I have the skills. I have the knowledge to be able to exceed in a company and provide, like I'm capable of filling in that role and doing above and beyond. I'm a team player. I do have leadership skills. So if I see a teammate isn't doing well and I feel like I can help them out, I will try my best. I'm very empathetic. I like to work with people. So I think that I'll be able to provide that to the company.
So we could see she was a little bit nervous and completely understand. Whenever anyone asks me about my salary expectation, I'm like, $5 billion. If that's in the budget, I'll take it. What do you think that Gianna did really well here, Jasmine?
She said some really great things. She was dropping some great keywords, like talking about being empathetic, talking about being a team player. She did a great job of, I'm sure, thinking about what is the position that I'm gunning for and what are some of the great things that I should be talking about in terms of my skill set to show my value.
And what do you think that she could do a little bit better?
Talking about money is something that's really intense for all of us. There's a lot of stigma around money. And I think with women, especially because it's hard for us to own our value, it's hard for us to connect our value to dollars. So I want for all women to get comfortable, as we talked about earlier, talking about money and really talking about it. And also get comfortable with saying the numbers that you want so that you can sort of break a little bit of that nervous energy down. Now, when we're thinking about value as it connects to dollars, it's really important for us to look at the job description. And when we're talking about why we should be hired, connect our strengths, our value to the job description. So if there are specific things that this job is calling out, this is a great time for you to call those things out and talk about how you connect to them. Also, since you've been in the interview, this is maybe something that's asked a little bit later in the conversation. Think about what's already been said. Think about what they are talking about in terms of the wins that they want for this position, the problems they want this position to solve, and use the information that you've gotten in the interview thus far to say, as you mentioned, you want the individual to do this. Well, I have experience doing that, and talk them through it.
Sometimes it's hard, like unless you're in something like sales, it's hard to quantify what you bring to the table. What is a way around that?
Yeah. So quantifying is a great thing to do, but if you can't quantify, the thing that you want to think about is, what problems have I helped my organization, team, or manager to solve? Because essentially, when we hire people, we are hiring people because we have a problem we want to solve, and we either don't have the time or experience to do it ourselves. So you really want to understand, what are the core problems of this position that they would expect me to solve? What is the experience that I want to have, and how can I draw examples from that? And you want to walk them through what was the original problem for the example, what I did, and what were any results that you have, including anecdotal results. So if you were able to do something and your boss gave you the pat on the back, or a coworker, you want to say that. So if you're known as the person at work who can get it done, say that you're known as the person at work who can get it done. You want to give them any examples that you have, even if it's not quantifiable.
And be specific, correct?
Be specific.
And
absolutely.
also potentially talk about areas in the company that you help save money.
Yeah, absolutely. So anywhere where you have changed the efficiency, the productivity, or the money factor for a company or a team, great thing to talk about.
Great. Let's see how Hannah answered the same question.
I would say, depending on the location, let's say if this is in New York, I would expect about $48,000 a year, just because I know that, one, it's expensive to live there, and two, I believe that sometimes, even without the experience earned already, if someone's really willing to learn, that could prove themselves to be a better employee, just because they're putting the extra work to try and communicate, reach out to people.
So what about Hannah? How do you think she did?
So Hannah did a great job. One of the things that I want to mention is, when we are thinking about salary, we want to hold the money power, especially as women. When we are dropping numbers, those numbers need to be connected to research. We need to do our due diligence to know exactly what is this position getting paid in the industry that I'm in. So making sure that you're doing your due diligence through getting research, having conversations, is very important. And I always like to tell my clients, the way that you keep the money power is you don't talk money until the end when you have an offer. So if there's any way to prolong or actually not talk dollars until you know exactly what the position entails, what the role entails, what the expectations are, that's really important, because you don't want it to be that during the conversations and interviews, you start to learn more about the position and role, and you'd actually want to increase that number, but you've already talked dollars even before you knew what you were signing on for.
What is a good way to prolong that, or to kick that can down the road? Like if they ask you that in the first interview, what is a way to sort of say, well, I don't want to discuss it now? What's the right way?
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy, because they ask this in even phone screens. So it's being asked very early on. And the best way to address it is, I'm so excited to continue down the interview process and to learn more about the position and role and how I connect to it. I'd like to discuss the money when I learn more about the position and the role. So you can do that. But sometimes you get really pressed. And if you do get pressed, you can ask questions like, what do you have budgeted for the role? Or if you are expected to give a number, I always tell everyone, make sure the number that you give has research behind it. So you've talked to people, you've got a good concept and idea. And also that the number you give is a number, not a range, because that's giving them control over what you might want. And don't be, you know, don't expect it to be on the higher end.
Right.
They're gonna try to navigate something a little bit lower.
Right. So I noticed Hannah she gave 48,000 for New York. Now that's actually very
wild.
That's very low. Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of us who live in New York, we know how expensive the city can be. I know that Hannah was thinking perhaps of giving a lower number so that she could, you know, she was willing to take a pay cut to just get her foot in the door. A lot of women do that. What do you think about that?
No, that's not what we should be doing. And the reason why is because we already know that there's a pay gap. So if we're leaving money on the table and we're leaving money on the table due to a pay gap, it takes us much longer to be able to move up the pay scale. So do the research, ask the questions, know what your worth really is, and stay aligned with that.
I always say to just shoot for the stars.
Absolutely.
And I did that once. They asked me, what do you want to make? And I gave the $5 billion number. And I said, oh, I'm sure they're going to come back and meet me halfway or something. And they didn't.
Yeah.
And they met me at that high number. And I was shocked. And it made me realize, like, oh, my goodness, have I been leaving?
Selling myself
short all this time?
Yeah.
Is this what men do? And I haven't been doing it?
Yeah.
Gosh darn it. Reach for the stars, ladies. Do it. I want to bring up some of the comments from our members here. We've got some great questions. Cassie is asking, is positioning a new job as, quote, a stepping stone really something interviewers want to hear? And I think this is in relation to, I think Hannah mentioned in one of her interviews or in one of her videos that she wanted to use the news as a stepping stone to going into the music video industry. What do you think? Is that something that is good to mention or not good to mention?
It depends. So Hannah was kind of talking about pivoting out of one area and into another, which is a great example when you are making a pivot and a transition to say, I've done the experience here. It's helped me and guided me in this way and given me the knowledge that this next thing is the better thing for me. But when you're talking about the position you're taking being the stepping stone to something else, you really want to talk about it as in the organization can create a path for you, or the organization can help and guide you to really making steps in your career.
And we have also another question from Cassie, who's asked, what are your thoughts on asking for the pay range of a position before offering your desired rate? So we sort of talked a little bit about this. Can you elaborate? What are your thoughts on asking for the pay range of a position before offering what you want?
Yeah, I love it. So Cassie, absolutely, 110%. That's how we maintain the power. Don't show your cards. So asking questions about the pay range is so important. And there's a lot of conversation about job descriptions actually having pay ranges on them to help with pay equity, which I'm all for.
I want to bring up a comment from Jennifer. It's not really a question. She is saying she's a 62-year-old woman and she has started applying for jobs after being at a company for a long term. She says, I'm feeling pretty self-conscious about this, and I know it will affect me in interviews if I get to that point. Any tips on how someone who maybe hasn't been in the game for that long, or who hasn't been in the interviewing game for a long time and are nervous about it, what are some tips or tricks for them to sort of get out of their shell?
Yeah. So firstly, our brain will always make us make assumptions to stop us from doing something. So you're assuming it's going to be an issue. You don't have the facts that it is. What I would say is go out there and network, have conversations, ask people that are in your position or the position you want to be in, how can I make this transition? How can I get back into this industry? What are some tips or tricks you would have for me? And who can I speak to get more information about this? Networking is key.
And to that point, we have a comment from Michelle who says, if you want to help women, if you want to talk to women who've been there, be a mentor, find a mentor. We need to be there for each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about the importance of mentorship.
Yeah. Mentorship is so incredibly important. Myself, when I was in toxic work environments, it was my mentors and my professional community that validated me enough to know wait a second, I'm not crazy here. This is really happening, and I need to transition out of this because I should get what I deserve. So mentorship can not just provide you an opportunity to understand your career, your path, your trajectory, but it can also help you when you're really encountering some tough situations at work and need that support and guidance to help navigate and get you out of those opportunities or get you into better ones.
That is huge. And same when I was in a toxic work environment, it helps to have someone in the environment who I can, hey, how do I navigate this? Who should I speak to? That sort of thing.
Yeah. What are my options?
What are my options? Yeah. I want to say hi very quickly to some members joining us. We've got Marva from Miami, your hometown. We've got Chrissy from Napa, John from Toronto, Kathy from New Jersey. Thank you for joining. And before we wrap up, Jasmine, I would love to recap some of the key takeaways that we learned from you today. So first, not being nervous or afraid about bragging about ourselves and our experience. Can you just elaborate very quickly about that?
Act like Beyonce. I just look up to her so much. Yeah. But truly know your value. Mm-hmm. When you know your value, everything clicks into place after that. Mm-hmm. You go for the positions you should be going for, mm-hmm. not for those positions that you think are easy to get into. Mm-hmm. When you know your value, you step into every interview and you say to yourself, even if it's not this one, I know another one is coming. Mm-hmm. And you have a different energy around you when you mm-hmm. do that. Mm-hmm. And when you know your value, you don't accept anything less when it comes to money. Mm-hmm. So you have to connect to your value mm-hmm. and your power.
And sometimes it's even just turning it on. Even if you're not that way, if you're not a Beyonce 24/7, you can be a Sasha Fierce in a situation.
Absolutely.
Turn it on just for the interview, and then you can go back to being the someone else. But
connect to that confident inner version of Sasha Fierce.
Yes, I have a person I connect to, and I have a tough situation. A woman. I'm not going to mention it because it's political. But I turn her on. I go, okay, I'm going to be just like this woman, and it works. It helps. It's like a little switch.
So helps. Please tell me it's RGB.
Oh, no, but she's a good one. She's a good one.
Well, I saw her working out, and I was like, I want to be this
woman. At the gym?
Yes.
Oh, wow. She's amazing. Okay, second on the list and the takeaways, owning our accomplishments by using words like I instead of we.
Yes.
This is huge.
Yeah. This is when I do interview prep with my clients, this is the number one thing I catch always, is that as women, we use the term we very often. Mm-hmm. And what that's doing is that's not letting the interviewer understand your individual contribution. Mm-hmm. It always sounds like you're working in a team instead of working as an individual who's mm-hmm. rallying the team, who's mm-hmm. helping the team move the projects forward. Mm-hmm. You have to really focus on your individual contribution and own that.
Yep, that's great. And finally, the importance of networking. So we talked a little bit about this, and also getting a mentor, getting insider details on the position in the company that you're going for.
Yeah, networking is essential for women, for mm-hmm. women of color. We do not do it enough. There's a lot of fear around networking. There's a lot of fear around putting ourselves out there. And mm-hmm. we make up a lot of reasons why we don't want to do it. It takes too much time. It's not really going to get me what I want. But networking, especially now in this job market, is mm-hmm. essential. So we really have to do it. And what I always tell my clients is put the intention behind it of, I'm networking to grow my career. Don't make it transactional. Make it truly about the fact that you want to grow and develop in this space mm-hmm. and find the people who can help you do that.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I love about the networking is whenever I have people reach out to me, to get tips on things or whatever, I love the thank you note afterwards that I get. Yeah. So, being mindful
That's
of
great.
Yeah, it's really sweet. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me about so-and-so. Yeah.
I love that.
Dr. Escalera, thank you for being here with us. Unfortunately, we have to end the show, but we appreciate so much your advice and your skills and your insight.
Oh, this was wonderful. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's great to share the table with you, but we need to get a couch.
Yeah, we need to get a couch. And thank you to all of our viewers who watched. Thank you for those who asked questions. Sorry we couldn't get to all of them, but you can continue the conversation here, build a network here on the stream, or you can check out some of the other very cool stories we have on the feed to the right of your screen. And that is it for today. I'm Nina Melendez. Thank you for watching LinkedIn News Live.